Oh, hello. Welcome to the Consistently OK podcast. My name's Luke, and I'm here with Nick, the main man Good. And we are talking about, we're doing another in depth. It's the Kevin Smith films, doing a Skewerverse ones, and we're talking about Dogma. And we're excited, aren't we, Nick?
We are.
Very excited. We like Dogma. So, sit back, listen to us talk about that film, and we'll leave you in the safe hands of the Cavalier Kid. All right. See you in a bit. Dogma, Nick.
Hello. Yes.
It's a good film, isn't it?
It
well,
is.
I like it.
It is.
Has its things that aren't that good, but for the main part, it's good. But it wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't say all the bad things instead of the good things. So we're a few films in now to the Schoonerverse.
Yeah.
Again, will I ever do a podcast where I get that right first time? No one knows.
We'll see.
So it's controversial. Dogma.
I guess. I mean, I never really saw because I don't come from a religious background, so I didn't really know why. When I
first saw it, I didn't think much of it, but I guess when I've seen it this time, I can see why people were probably annoyed, but I don't give a shit. But I think when you look into Dogma and everything that came about, like the protests and everything from the Catholic Church and different bits, although the Catholic Church never actually were against it, it was people from the Catholic Church themselves that were against it, and there were protests, and Kevin Smith even joined in one of these protests.
Yeah,
which
I
is
saw
pretty
that.
funny.
That was good.
Because of everything they do, they're trying to poke holes at religion, and there's a lot of characters, and they're poo monsters, and all that stuff. So, let's start at the beginning. So it came out in 1999. Ooh. We were both young-ish, probably. I was early high school, I think, when it came out. So I definitely didn't see it when it released. I would have seen it past that point, I guess.
I would have been 8.
I think it came out the same weekend as the first Pokemon movie I read.
Ooh, intriguing.
Which I'm pretty sure I saw down at the old Stratty Picture House.
Nice.
With my kids club card, which my number was 007.
Oh.
So it was very cool, right?
Yeah.
One of my friends was 006, and we all know that guy turned into a dickhead.
That was Sean Bean, wasn't it?
Not only Sean Bean, but also my friend. Sean Bean, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
always dies. So it came out. It wasn't. It was a success, I guess. It was made for 10 million, and it did 44 at the box office.
That's pretty good.
Success? It's pretty good in 1999. I think.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
And it got good reviews. Rotten Tomatoes, who trusts them? But it was pretty good audience score. Very good audience score. If they collect all the reviews up over time when it came out, and the critics, it was borderline, I guess. I think it was like 60-something%, which is in Rotten Tomatoes terms, that's fresh.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's under 60% is rotten, isn't it? And then there's like between 60 and 70% is like.
Is that fresh? And then there's certified.
And there's fresh, and then there's certified fresh. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Again, we talk about Rotten Tomatoes several times, but you can't really base anything on that. You just have to go and watch it yourself. But I have seen Dogma. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, does that mean that we could do like certified consistently okay?
We can, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's change our whole review system. It's either consistently shit, it's consistently okay, which is fresh, and it's consistently certified, which is 70 and up. So I've seen Dogma a few times. I haven't seen it for a long time. I think the last time I actually watched it was at least 10, 15 years ago, probably.
Nice.
Um, so when I rewatched it recently, which took me 3 attempts to actually get through the whole thing, uh, I still really like it. Like I
Yeah.
said at the beginning, there are things that I probably could do without, but I think it's just kind of part and parcel with Kevin Smith's films at this point. A lot of things I like are the things that we talked about before, Chasing Amy and Mallrats, which are sort of the long conversations.
Yeah.
Normally with two characters, you get a lot of it with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon
Hmm.
in this. So, I mean, where I feel like I've already started, but was there something specifically you wanted to start at, Nick?
I don't think so. I mean, for me, it's kind of the same as we always say with Kevin Smith stuff, is that the dialogue is always great, and I think
Yeah,
in this it again stands out. But I think I said to you after I watched it this time round that it kind of feels like a superhero film um, in its scope, in that it's quite a big kind of, it literally is a biblical story basically, but it's big and it feels like kind of the culmination of a lot of these characters or these kind of beats that he's been building through Clerks. And that's the interesting thing, I think, doing this in depth, is that watching them, you kind of see how he sort of grows as a writer and director. And when you get to something as like Dogma, it feels like somebody who has been building to that. Like it
yeah,
hasn't just
I
come out of
agree.
nowhere. It's like, yeah, I could see this. Um, so yeah, I think that's kind of my thing, is that it starts there. Um, and the
I
one
think
piece
it's
of,
probably his biggest film, isn't it? Like, I think that's probably. I mean, I know people know him for Clerks probably over most things,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I feel like Dogma is his biggest epic
epic. Yeah,
film.
probably. Yeah, I mean, it is huge.
I've just literally read that 44 million against the 10 million budget became the highest grossing film in the View Askew universe series.
Oh wow,
So there you go.
gosh,
44 million is big. I
big.
didn't play it up enough. I should have
Yeah,
gone harder. Should have
did
been
it?
like, Jesus Christ, 44
It did
million.
it. Um,
It did it.
but yeah, I think the line of conversation that specifically um pulled me in, where I was like, this feels like a superhero film. This feels big. Is the one where it's Loki and Bartleby talking in the parking garage. And Loki's like, he says something to Bartleby where he's like, I've heard this kind of talk before. Like I've heard this, like, you sound like Lucifer. And something about the way that scene is written and acted between all of them just feels like that is a huge scene. Like it's a huge moment, and it's this big kind of sets the stakes, and it sets kind of where everything's going. And I just remember watching that and thinking, Jesus, like this is really
Jesus.
impressive. Jesus. Like really, really impressive. So um yeah, that is probably where I was like, this is, it wasn't quite what I remembered. Um, like I sort of always just remembered it as a View Askew film that was good and it was funny and it was engaging. But watching it, I was like, oh, it is kind of like Kevin Smith's superhero film. It's like,
Yeah.
that's it.
Did
So
you think it was still funny? As funny as you thought it was when you watched it, however
yeah,
long ago it was? Yeah,
yeah. I
because
mean,
I
like,
thought it was still fun. I think it's still held up.
yeah, I think Alan Rickman, pretty much
Alan Rickman.
everything.
So I said that to you in a text, and I was like,
Yeah,
Alan Rickman. He's my favorite bit in the whole film. Like I think
yeah,
his delivery and everything is spot on.
pretty much everything he does in it is amazing. Chris Rock's great.
Chris Rock's very good.
He's
I
got
mean,
some great
even
lines.
Kevin Smith and Jason
Yeah,
Meows,
Jamie Hughes. Yeah,
James,
they,
they are pretty big. It's probably their biggest role in
yeah,
any of the previous films because obviously they do quite a bit of Mallrats and things, but Chasing Amy they did a bit, but it felt like they were very significant to the plot because obviously Kevin Smith's at the end, he's doing a lot at the end, and obviously so is Jason. So it's because they're prophets,
yeah,
prophets, yeah, they
yeah,
were prophets, yeah. So um, yeah, I think it was still
yeah. It's still
still
funny. It's still like despite the fact that it's this level, it's still
Chris Rock is very funny.
He's great, and like
he's spot on as well.
The bit that always kills me, and I think even it's as funny as it is the first time I saw it, is the bit towards the end when they've like covered Jay's ear when God starts, and then he just stands up and he's like, "Who the fuck is this?" And like that has just always killed me because
that's Jay in a nutshell as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and like his delivery on it is perfect, and it's the way that it's like it's in the moment, and then he's like, "Why the fuck did you touch my head?" And it's just it's like stupid. It goes from like kind of serious to silly, and it doesn't feel out of place. It feels correct, and
I really like a bit. It's right at the beginning, but I always think I remember each time. I don't know. It's not even like laugh out loud funny, but it's kind of a smirk funny when they when Loki and Bartleby or Matt Damon and Ben Affleck when they get in the lift at the beginning at the airport, and they're like, like last 4 days on Earth, like, and well, what can we do? It's like, oh, we can't. I can't remember what he says now. So stupid. Just remember the line that you were going to say. He says something like, we can't do this, so we'll do the next best thing, which is kill everyone. And then this lady's like, fuck, and he's like, not you.
Not you.
It's just like it's just so it's something so small, but it always makes me laugh because they're just obviously in that bit they're in a lift and he doesn't care what he's saying, but this woman obviously like shits herself because they're essentially saying they're going to go on a murder spree. But even just saying like not you, it's not that comfortable for her. But I don't know. It's just something very small that I've always liked that bit. So I mean, I like actually. I like the opening credits with the like the disclaimer.
Yeah.
When it's like, well, I think some people could find that quite annoying, but I always thought it was quite funny, and it was still funny this time because it's just obviously they talk about the platypus and everything like that, which makes me laugh. And then they're like, but then they badmouth the platypus the next thing, and I like the fact it sets the scene quite quickly with Loki's character because he's obviously telling the nun why she shouldn't be a nun anymore. It's like, bearing in mind this was the angel of death, right?
Yeah.
And he's getting his kicks just from fucking with a nun. Like that's the level of where he's at. So
that whole idea as well of like the two of them that are just hanging out in an airport and they're just like so bored that they're just getting involved in everyday life is great. That just feels like it's just an interesting angle to kind of go like, here's two people who were angels that have fallen and they're deciding to just talk shit and just really monotonous bollocks, but it's great. It's so well done, like really well done.
They're pretty good. I mean, they're very good characters. I always liked both those. I've read a lot recently about it saying like they're not very good actors in this film, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. But I disagree.
Great. Yeah, they're
great. I think they are great, and I think it's especially like the last parts with I mean, I don't know. And people are listening. I don't know if they've seen Dogma, so we're like talking about it like it's like everyone's seen it. But
if you haven't,
like,
go watch it.
If you haven't, like, go and watch it. But essentially, it's about these two angels who get thrown out of heaven. Bartleby, who's Ben Affleck, he basically convinces Matt Damon's character Loki that like they should like I don't know what the right word is. Like they should just not be like under God's rule.
Yeah, pretty much.
So anyway, they get cast down to Earth and they get like left in whatever town it is. I can't remember what town it is.
It's just like it's New Jersey, isn't it?
New Jersey, yeah. So anyway, so they can't get back. They still got their wings. They're still angels, but they can't do anything. They haven't got any genitals. They can't live like most humans could do. Anyway, so they're aiming to get back into heaven, and then they get sent a note, and the note basically tells them that there's this window because there's a church that's basically redesigning the way the Catholic Church presents itself. So they're getting rid of like Jesus on a cross, and they're going to make Bloody Christ. And essentially there's this archway that would get rid of all your sins. So Bartleby convinces Loki to go on this trip to go and have their sins taken away, so they go back to heaven, and there's loads of stuff that happens in between. Lucifer is not Lucifer. Lucifer, who
Jason Lee's character.
Jason Lee.
He is. Oh, I've forgotten the name. Azrael.
His name now. Azrael. Yes, he is Azrael. Yeah. Yeah. So there's loads of things. There's other sub characters as well. There's a character called Bethany, who actress I can't remember her name as well. Pretty sure it's Linda something.
Yeah, so we'll
God.
Google this because we're gonna. This is
Another.
standard, consistently okay.
This is how we do it. This is how we do our in depths.
Yeah,
We
on the
just watch the
fly.
film and then we just wing it.
Uh,
Anyway, so there's loads of sub stories. So I don't have to go into the whole plot, but that's essentially it. These angels, two angels, bad guys, trying to get back into heaven. They find a way they can do it, and it involves basically steamrolling their way to this church. And there's loads of sub characters, which is a very big cast. There's like Chris Rock, there's Jason Lee, there's Kevin Smith, and Jason Meows. I can't remember his name. I never remember. Harry would have a full fun time listening to this one. And Sam Hayek's in it as well. And there is, I guess, a cameo. I don't know. Is Alanis Morissette's a cameo? Feels like it's a cameo because she was pretty big at this time, wasn't she? So,
yeah.
And she's in it as well, and a bunch of other people. Tell you what I don't like, Nick. One bit I never liked. I never liked the triplets.
Oh yeah, the three kind of buzzy.
Yeah, like I just don't like that. I just don't like. I think it's a bit lame, which probably is supposed to be lame, but I don't like their faces.
Yeah.
Don't like their use of hockey sticks. That's the bit in the opening that I don't like as well. And they just run into the guy and they just start smacking him. I'm like, that guy could get up.
The plot point though is kind of clever. Of the like, they put him in a coma.
Yes.
And that's why God hasn't been able to.
Yeah, because that's again, I didn't really remember that bit. I mean, I caught on eventually, but I was like, what is the significance of it at the beginning? But hey, it all came back to me eventually.
Nailed it.
So it was pretty good. But I still don't like the triplets.
Yeah, I could get behind that. I think
I wish they were different, a bit of a different setup. It doesn't really change much to the story. But maybe I'm obviously not supposed to like them, am I? So
true. I just think part of it is also because like they're probably like the three characters who have the least personality because they don't talk. Like they are very much like they're the plot point of they exist to do this thing, which is their role. Like that's kind of what they serve in the story is just to essentially create the kind of environment in which the story's told. But they never really do anything that's kind of like, oh yeah, that's entertaining. It's just like they knock the guy out and then they sort of just the people chasing.
And Jason Lee just there.
He's phenomenal.
Well, so Jason Lee, he's awesome in it, which is good as well because when you think about Jason Lee's character, you think about the roles he's played so far up until this point. Like he's played he was the main guy in he's Banky, which he's like kind of a dosser, like he's just like I don't know, kind of just like a nobody, and he doesn't really give a shit. That's the impression you get from him. And then in Chasing Amy, he's obviously plays quite I guess it's an emotional role.
Yeah, because
with
Brody,
quite a lot of layers to it.
Sorry, yes,
Brody,
Brody, Moratz, Banky, Chasing Amy.
Yeah, and then in this, he's just evil. Like
he's like plays a villain.
Plays it really well. Good, and then it's good. It's a good role for him. Every time I think about him, I think about My Name Is Earl.
Yeah,
and I think
always good.
Was that him? But because he looks so because of his mustache and stuff, he just looks so quite different. But I was good when I enjoyed that when that started.
It was
good premise, and then it just went off. Anyway, we can talk about My Name Is Earl all podcasts, but let's not.
Yeah.
What else was there? I mean, the poo monster. I mean, where do you think that came from?
Classic. No idea. Because it is very unique and very weird. And that was the thing that going into this watch, I was like, I don't know how this is going to hold up. Because in my head, I remember even thinking at the time, I was like, this is weird. Like, so I
actually remember him being bigger as well.
Yeah. But he's not. He's just like a normal guy.
Just like a normal guy. Yeah. But also, another thing that it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever played the N64 game Conker's Bad Fur Day. Did you ever play that?
Don't think so.
And there's a poo monster in that, and there's a theme song. Pretty good. And it always makes me think of that as well. If I see this poo monster or I see Conker's Bad Fur Day, they both intertwined in my mind. Well, I can't see one without thinking about the other. I
It's
mean,
yeah, it's
I'm not
genius.
obsessed with poo monsters. It's just, you know, it's two different things.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I thought as well. I'm going off in different areas now.
Do it.
How much I liked the ending between Loki and Bartleby. Like, I like the fact that I don't like it because I like Matt Damon, but it's pretty sad, obviously, with him getting his wings because he obviously changed his mind, doesn't he? So he's
Yeah, because that's the
gutted.
yeah, that's the thing that I thought was really interesting as well, is because you have two villains who sort of swap roles as the film
Yeah, they
goes
do.
on.
Yeah,
And that's quite
yeah,
an interesting thing from a writing point of view, to sort of create two villains that in the first half of the film you're like, oh, I sort of prefer Bartleby, and then it switches and you're like, oh, I sort of prefer Loki. Like the bit where they go into the movies office and then shoot everyone and it's all Loki's like crazy, um, is amazing. But that's the bit where you're like, Loki's a real villain, like he's the villain. Um, and it's not until later that Bartleby sort of shows his true self, and you're like, no, he's so much worse.
yeah.
Um,
Also, what's interesting is when Bartleby actually gets confronted by God,
yeah.
and it's like you just see he just looks all of a sudden like so innocent.
Mm,
Like he's just like almost in tears, isn't he? Or
yeah.
is he in tears?
I
I
think
can't
he
remember. I think
is.
he
I
is.
think he does. Yeah.
So he's like really emotional because he just so after all everything he's done, like he's still just in awe of God and he just
Yeah.
wants God's love.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously the reason he left was because he didn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
So it's yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting switch between the roles between Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Which is
Yeah.
very clever writing, like you said. Good job, Kevin Smith,
Yeah.
because you're definitely listening to this.
We hope.
We
We
hope.
would love it. But yeah.
Just listening. He's doing his hikes up the mountain, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Tell you what,
Got
a
the
bit of
consistently
consistently
over
okay,
podcast.
that'll do it."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they've
We
got a
just need
new
to.
review system. I'll keep that in mind when I do my next film. All right. Where else have we got to go with this, Nick?
I just want to touch on that office scene again,
Yeah.
because it again, it always makes me laugh, and it's the sort of tension of Loki walk around the room and you're sort of wondering what he's going to do, and the way it's sort of written into like him talking about voodoo,
Mm-hmm.
and how you kind of think like they're going to like explode or something, or there's going to be some really horrific death. Um, and part of that is the writing, part of it's the directing of just the way that is shot and the way he's talking very calmly and kind of going through all the things that these people have done that's really awful. Um, and him just kind of focusing it, like making not just the guy in the room believe that it's going to be voodoo, but that it's to the audience that you're like, oh shit, like this could be anything. Um,
Yeah.
and then just the delivery of Matt Damon when he's like, I don't believe in voodoo, man. And
Yeah.
it's like so well done that you're like, oh cool. Um, and then when he comes back in with a gun, he's like, but I do believe in this. And Ben Affleck's like, what does that even mean? It's just it's stuff like that where you just kind of think like the writing on this is perfect because um it's funny, it's quirky, but it feels natural. Like it doesn't ever feel like they forced that in or anything. It feels like this is really, really well crafted.
I
Yeah.
think that scene is kind of that and a lot of other scenes is because they've come off Good Will Hunting for this, haven't they? If I remember right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like those two going from that sort of film together to this sort of film, you can tell they're both, especially Matt Damon, is having a very good time.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Because
can, yeah.
I don't know what Matt Damon did that was comedy before this. I don't know if this was his first
Um,
comedy, but it's I think even from the first scene you can really see he's having like a very good time.
yeah.
Um, I don't know
Yeah,
if you did.
it feels like the two of them are just having a great time riffing off of each other. And because they're friends with Kevin Smith, it's sort of the whole film just feels like it is kind of like a passion project between a whole bunch of friends. Like nobody
Yeah,
really feels out of place. Everybody sort of feels like they're there because they all just want to hang out for however long the filming is and just have a bit of fun.
I mean he literally did Good Will Hunting, Saving Private Ryan, and then
Oof,
this.
yeah.
So I bet
And
no
then
wonder he had a good time.
he must have gone fairly quickly into Bourne as well, because he wasn't born like 2000.
So he did, Dogma was 99. Then he had The Talented Mr. Ripley out that year, and The Legend of Bagger Vance, which is also quite serious, not like really serious, but it's quite a serious film. And then Born was 2002.
Oh, okay, so it's quite a while after. Okay.
2 years. But he also did, he did Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Ocean's 11 in between that as well. So
yeah.
He's it's just you can tell, sometimes you can see actors, right, when they've done, like, especially if they've done a lot of serious stuff and then they go into like a TV show that's got like lets your hair down a little bit. There's like several. I watched Chris Evans' film on Apple TV. It wasn't very good.
Okay.
But you can tell Chris Evans. Yes.
Yeah.
But you can tell he was having a good time. Like, the film made no sense whatsoever. But
cool.
And it wasn't funny. But Chris Evans looked like he was having a great time.
Good.
And I know like Captain America thing isn't like really, really serious stuff, but it's a role, isn't it, that he's played a lot of times. Like, and it's the same thing.
And he'd done
a lot of times.
Defending Jacob, which was pretty heavy.
That's pretty dark, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
And so you can see, and I think Matt Damon, that's why, like, just the line, like I said, he doesn't believe in voodoo and stuff, even though it's so small. Like, I bet he loved filming this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, Kevin Smith can let us know.
Yes, please do.
In the comments.
Leave us a comment if you.
Matt fucking hated it. What are you on about? All he did was longed for Saving Private Ryan 2.
Yep. But yeah, I really enjoy that office scene because I think it is good. Again, it's like those scenes between Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are like just so well written because the two of them know how to work off each other, kind of in the same way that like Jay and Kevin Smith kind of bounce off each other as Jay and Silent Bob, in terms of like Kevin Smith's facial reactions as Jay is speaking. Like, that stuff's quite well timed. And it's cool just the way that you've got like the Bartleby Loki dialogue kind of bouncing back, and then when you switch back to like Bethany, you've got Jay and Chris Rock's character, who I've forgotten his name, but the two of them bouncing off each other is pretty good.
Rufus, yeah,
because they get some great dialogue as well. Like the two of them.
They do. Bethany's a bit of an odd casting choice. Do you think? I feel like again she kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, she's not in any of the other View Askew flicks, is she?
No, I did read. Did I read? I'm going to just make sure I'm not making it up, because I mean, we all know I'm not the best at fact checking. I think I read. I don't know if it was somewhere lame like Wikipedia, but Gillian Anderson was offered the role.
Oh, really?
Nice. But she hated it. Yeah, that's what it said. I don't know if it was in the book I read or on here. I can't see it on here, so I guess I read it on something else. But yeah, it was offered to her, and then she was like, "It's shit," and then it went to her. Yeah, so
yeah,
I can't see where
it was. She does well though. Like, she does it well. She plays that role, you know.
Yeah, it was. Like, Kevin Smith being a fan of X-Files, Smith offered the role. Bethany Jensen, according to Smith, Anderson really hated it.
Amazing. So good.
Too big for a boots, Gillian.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's and I read as well. I think I probably read it the same thing, that the God role was Emma Thompson's, and then she couldn't do it because she was pregnant.
Oh really? So, interesting.
Well, it wasn't because she was pregnant. Kevin Smith was like, "You're pregnant, you can't be it." She was having a baby, so she couldn't film.
I always assumed it was just always going to be Alanis Morissette, because it just seems like natural.
She's pretty good at it, isn't she? Because like a hippie kind of god, so the vibe is pretty good with her. So,
and it's the whole like voice of an angel thing. Like, her voice is so good that it would kill you. It's good.
Yeah, good film. Like, I mean, I know we've only got a little window to record this episode. Sadly, our dear fans, but it was I really liked it, and I think it's probably. I think it's probably up there with my favorite Kevin Smith film.
Yeah, I'd probably put it up there. It's definitely in my top like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think I'll know what those are at the end of this in-depth series.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have anything else to add regarding it?
I don't think so. No, I think it really did surprise me that it in an age where we're all over superhero films. Like this feels like a superhero film in so many ways.
Yeah.
Which feels so natural coming from Kevin Smith, like being into comic books and superheroes and stuff. And it was the fact that it did hold up in that same way, that it wasn't just like there are superhero films out there which are terrible, like
Catwoman.
Yeah, Fantastic Four. Original.
Which one?
Original.
The original. I mean, the original was good when I first saw it when I was young.
It's okay. It's the best of the three.
Yes, the second one's not very good at all. It's a bit of a mess, and the Josh Trank one is could have been so good.
There probably is a good cut of that somewhere, though. I reckon everybody's always talked about it, but my point with it was that like Dogma, in comparison to those kinds of superhero films where they're actually intending to be a superhero film, Dogma does it so much better. Like,
I completely agree, definitely.
And I think that's the thing that I'm taking away the most of it. Like, Dogma is like the superhero film of View Askew, in the same way that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is our next in-depth, feels kind of like Endgame or something.
Yeah, it's like bringing all the pieces together.
Yeah, it's like all the characters crossing over, like everything is kind of in there, and this is like the combination.
Clerks 2 is like the beginning of the next phase.
Yeah, but yeah.
Good job, Kevin Smith. You made your own MCU before the MCU was an MCU.
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah.
Our next in-depth episode is going to be Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is a very, 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 very funny film. So we're looking forward to talking about that. You can also have a pop culture episode today as well. We are releasing one later on. It's going to be covering Mandalorian season finale, Marvelous Miss Maisel, of course. We're also talking about a Kickstarter that Nick, Harry, and I are running. And we also talk about something else, Nick. Something great. We'll leave it up there for you to find out. So if you want to hear more from Nick and I on old podcasts or keep up to date with upcoming podcasts, then you can find us on social media. Instagram, Consistently Pod. Twitter, Consistently Pod. Find us on YouTube by searching for a Consistently OK podcast, and just generally go on any podcast provider that you have and look for Consistently OK podcast, and you'll find us. All our old episodes. There's ones about comics, and wrestling, and films, and in-depths on many other things. Batman, that's what we did our last one about last season. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah, good times with loads of guests. We also have some guests coming up soon as well on other podcasts. Hooray! So so listen, you can also find Nick and I on another podcast. We just had an interview with the lovely Neil at Get Your Comic On. So yeah, you can find us there, and you can check them out at Get Your Comic on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, dude.
All right. Bye-bye.